Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation, what is sensorality? So last episode we arrived at a definition of what is a rhythm. A rhythm is a minimization of steps. Steps is the right word, kind of general ontological representation of the different things, of the different independent or discrete, again steps, you have to use the right word, to progress through a cycle. And so to form a rhythm, you go on a very empirical kind of way, or just go out into the world, try to do something most efficiently, and the right words to represent, hey, I'm going to do something most efficiently, I'm going to form a rhythm. You progress through steps. And so kind of to the structure of like, why do we just now have a definition of what a rhythm is? As we've said, rhythm maximizes movement, rhythm maximizes momentum. I very literally put that on a billboard outside of The Ohio State University, which continues to break the law in profound and egregious fashion, but just focusing on the derivation for right now. But it's just this overall, again, cyclic process of cycling through all of the conceptual progress that has been solidified, or that is part of this logical structure in which you can prove things. And so, again, from rhythm to algorithm was part of the production, part of the remainder, the conceptual progress of defining and reducing speciality. So from rhythm to algorithm, really an identification of the empirical, what is a rhythm, what is an algorithm, but it is linguistic structure produced by the first axiomatic derivation, speciality is special with an ITY. So now we're getting back to that completion, where again we can show this reduction of sensorality. A rhythm is a minimization of steps. And so just continuing along. Sensorality is quality censorship. What is sensorality? The quality of being a censor, the quality of censorship. Natural definition, direct iteration. As you can see, that's kind of, I say the quality of being a censor, and then on the screen I've put the quality of censorship. It just feels more natural. Again, connecting the concepts, the linguistics is trivial. Which word form we pick, how we structure a theorem even, doesn't really matter. Is fluent potent? Sensorality is fluency potential. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is influentiality potential. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is cyclicity to chronicity? Emphasizing the city, but again, highlighting stuff, moving through. Limiting space limits movement potential, right? Energy, movement potential. If you have less space, less no thing, less nothing to move through, then you have less ability to move at all. And so I forget exactly what statement, but all of these are again directly pulled from the editing of the last video. And so just what limits energy, limiting the actual space in which something can move, limits movement potential. Containment limits energy, right? The physical boundings of something limits its movement potential. Vibration is not potential, vibration is not potency. Again, directly derived, vibration is not potential, and then we just pull that down to vibration is not potency. Is tension potent? Again, these are leftover. The stuff I say in the previous episode presents logic, and this is like the extracting any theorems or big ideas from those. So, as again, we're on doggy duty, so we might have to cut this short, depending on how much barking we get. What is velocity to viscosity? Again, they're inverses. We established that previously. Last episode, we were talking about, what exactly is an inverse? Is movement and not movement inverse, or is rapid movement velocity and gradual movement? Is that speed? But again, just what is this? What is an inverse? Is it the same thing described in two different ways, which it is, or is it something that's opposite? But again, everything is connected, but nothing is touching. It is what it is. We need sufficient differentiation. I'm an independent object, but I can't fly. And so we're just finding, again, working through to some amount of definitiveness. Because all of these things, we're still in this environment where there's infinitely many things that are true that we can't prove. And so all of this stuff that feels intuitive, like, hey, we should have an answer here, it's like, yeah, we don't have the linguistic structure to answer, like legitimately. And so that is what we're doing, is again, still progressing to this correct question, this self-contained question in which we can answer. But containment, is tension potent? And so again, just all of these are just pulling through, again, any unanswered or any logic that was presented from the last video. That's what all of these videos are, is they're just sequential and it's in order. Vibration is moving along, but when I was saying velocity to viscosity in the last episode, I was thinking directly, or again, that presentation is non-Newtonian fluids, right? If you hit something, the more, and they'll talk like impact force, but it's the direct velocity-viscosity relationship. If something's moving faster and it has more resistance to movement, that's exactly and precisely what's articulated as a non-Newtonian fluid. And just, again, I didn't Google that, but I'm assuming, again, I went back and forth, was it non-Newtonian fluid or liquid? Just something to point out. What is viscosity? Resistance potential, movement resistance, not even potential, movement resistance to disorder. Yeah, that's, again, I literally have what is viscosity to entropy, and then I'm not really even like looking at the next step, and then it's the exact same thing I just said. What is movement resistance to disorder? Disorder is not productive, order produces. Again, work is productive. What is work to viscosity? Movement is productive, resistance to movement is not productive. Viscosity is not work. Order produces. Sensorality produces order, sensorality produces odor. Again, we'll hit some logical redundancy because we're getting to this stabilizing thing. I have a good enough intuitive grasp. Again, like that's the thing I can literally feel on a direct personal level. It's not like I'm over here memorizing anything. I can just feel the stuff that we've been to, again, recently, and the stuff that's never been acknowledged ever, because we're deriving a novel definition. And so some of the theorems might be redundant, but in the same way you'd say the same thing in any mathematical derivation, L'Hopital's rule, or Taylor expansion, or whatever. It's the same type, it's just literally the same thing. Movement displaces, density displaces, mass displaces. Is displacement definite? Is displacement discrete? What is charge to displacement? And when you charge your phone, you're displacing charge. Is charge a place? Is charge tender? Speciality is unexpected. So that was our big one yesterday. Expectationality was the title of the last episode. Expectationality contains exceptionality. We have this, again, direct iteration. We get to it here in a second. But speciality is unexpected. And then sensorality contains speciality. And we have this consensus phrasing, expect the unexpected, right? Sensorality expects the unexpected, direct iteration. What is customary to customer? What is a customer to a consumer? Rhythm sets pace, pacing is stepping. Sensorality sets stepping. Again, step contains set, direct iteration. Sensorality pursues persuasion, direct iteration. Worth pointing out, again, I made fun of myself for spelling of persuasion, the W. I also had a U in there as well. I put it on the screen. But again, emphasizing my own realization in this spelling, in this derivation process. Sensorality is potency, potential. What is potency to impotence? What is impotence to importance? So now, again, we have another kind of natural opposition. Again, this existence, inversion, opposition, discreteness, right? What is an inverse is movement, the opposite of not movement, or is rapid movement, the inverse of slow movement. Just pointing out the big concepts, we're getting to a definitive response to a definitive question. But what is impotence to importance? What is the value of expectation, right? In physics class, we have this consolidation, or math class, both expectation value, sensorality values expectation. And that's where we have expectationality contains exceptionality. Right? Special is exceptional. Good emphasis step to emphasize the containment, the linguistic progression, and this direct iteration, the direct switching of the elemental slot. Expectation and exception is direct. Sensorality is unexpected, or speciality is unexpected. Unexpected is exceptional. Natural definition, direct iteration. Again, sensorality contains speciality. So at this point, we're literally just trying to get to this definite progression of linguistics. Well, we're still not trying to do anything, but that's our conclusion. That's where this derivation takes us. Sensorality is unexpected odor. Natural definition, sensorality is unexpected order. Odor is foul, right? Oh, that's a foul odor. That's a foul smell. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensodorality, senses foul odor. Foul is bad. Is exponential exceptional? Sensorality is exceptionality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Releasing discharges. Releasing unleashes. Natural definition, direct iteration. So again, I'm using these labeling to highlight this progression of this derivation. Natural definitions do use is, but when I say releasing unleashes, you might be saying, where's the is? But again, it's this form where you could easily expand it out to releasing is unleashing. And so it's still this presentation where it's like, hey, you could trivially expand it to contain is, but it's more poignant to emphasize it as the way I've articulated it. Is charging easy? Because remember, we're reducing everything, we're contracting everything. We're showing you, again, this overall logical linguistic form. Hey, we're going to iterate this word, we're going to iterate this letter, we're going to iterate this element, and it's part of this contraction process when we get all this proofing. Because contraction stabilizes, it forces this definitive minimum. Sensorality steps, sensorality stipulates. I think I have is charging easy. I'm not sure if I said that, but it'll be on the screen if not. Sensorality is stipulationality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is stepping, walking. What is waking to walking? Does walking make wake? Sensorality sleepwalks. Right? Walking and waking, sleepwalking. Fundamental theorem of physics, radiation is wake. So that's the direct physical intuition. You go skiing behind a boat, wake, radiation is wake. Natural definition, direct iteration. All right, and it's a direct iteration from radiation waves, radiation is wake. Sensorality makes wake. Making moves makes wake. Wake waves. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality makes weight, like boxing or UFC. Mass is weight. Weight is massive. Sensorality is resistance potential. That was the direct progression we had from energy and viscosity, movement potential, viscosity, movement resistance. Movement cancels out resistance potential, and that's naturally what censorship is, the potential to have resistance. Right? Censorship is resistance. But weight is resistance. And so we just keep plugging in. Again, A is B, B is C, and it's limited. This fundamental stability of 2 and this max iteration of 7. We have this definitive overall structure with numeric limits. So we just keep doing our substitution, our syllogism with letters, with words. Sensorality is weight potential, directly substituting weight for resistance. Does weight move? Right? Does resistance move? Sensorality moves weight, direct iteration. Restating the fundamental theorem of physics, weight is viscosity, right? Mass has weight. Mass is weight. Weight is resistance. And so the thing that resists movement is mass, right? That is inertia. And so weight is inertial. Viscosity is inertial. Again, that's one of the chronology things where inertia, it's like if you're in motion, you tend to stay in motion. But just rattling off any physical connection that presents. But weight is viscosity, fundamental theorem of physics. Sensorality is weight velocity. Is weight energetic? Is resistance to movement the potential? Does resistance to movement have movement potential? In another one, it sounds like it has intuition, and it kind of does, but it's not direct. It's not completely congruent to what we're trying to say, or to something we can answer. Because this is, again, where words have meaning. All of this stuff is still true. All of these results, what energy is, what work is, what power is, what rhythm is, what vibration is, it's all true. And so you go into physics class, no one's saying these stuff. All of these words have definitive meaning. Overall, again, we're going to end at this fundamental theorem of linguistics. Words have meaning. Here's what sensorality means. And here's the form demonstrated with a specific solution. But this is where, again, you go into school right now, or if you've gone into school like I did, people are just saying random shit. There is no consistency. There is no consensus. Every physicist is saying this is what energy is. Every physicist is saying this is what work is. Right? Then you have Gibbs free energy and this free energy, and all of this proliferation is immediately, again, proven. It's structure of language, it's linguistical proliferation that shows that you don't know what you're talking about. And it's just, nobody seems to get that, nobody cares, and so you can't even do science at any point. What happened to me in school is the most fucking disgusting shit that has ever occurred, truly. Nobody cares, life is this big competition over nothing. But is weight energetic? Again, we're getting to this, just highlighting that these physical definitions are real, independent of me. And even if it sounds like it has intuition, we just need to have some direct question that we can directly answer. Sensorality is velocity resistance. Sensorality resists rapid movement. So now we have containment with resist, contains is, right? Because all of this roots back to it is what it is. Sensorality is rapid movement. But now, again, that's tautology. We're kind of at this step where it's like we just said sensorality resists rapid movement, and then we reduced too far or something. Again, just pointing this out. But velocity is rapid movement. That's definitely our definition, our progress up to here. And so at this point, sensorality is velocity. And so again, sensorality is this chunk of syllability we're using to show this fundamental differentiation already present in ontology. Sensorality is rapidity. Orality is rapid. Right? Sensorality is fast talking. Rapid orality is fast talking. Rapid is fast. What is fast to first? What is fast to last? Again, over here with Ricky Bobby again. If you're not first, you're last. No, you can be more than other things. That whole bullshit. But again, conceptualization of logic manifests everywhere. And so that was in a movie. Right? If you're not first, you're last. But if you're fast, you're not last. Right? Sensorality fast forward. Emphasizing again, fast forward on your clicker, on your remote control, right? A click is not a pop. I think we get back to pop here as well. But a prediction or again, a derivation of direct word form, fast forward. What is weight to width? Is weight wide? Does charge have weight? Right? Density is definite. Density is mass per unit volume. Mass is a stabilized dynamic of charge. Empirically look around you. That's when you see bright lights and go, ooh, ah, it's like, look at me, kind of. All mass is stabilized charge. And so, yeah, does charge have weight? I think that's a direct question where you just say yes. Density is definite. The dynamic of charge is mass. Again, we're building up to this question where the answer is sensorality, or sensorality shows the answer. We're just moving along. Sensorality is charge resistance. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality, right? Charge resistance there could strike me an illegal, right? Immunity, amnesty, charge resistant, right? Your resistance to charge. You have qualified immunity, which should not exist for police officers. Sensorality is odor resistance. Sensorality is the order of odor. Roots are chiral. When hiking yesterday, rocks and roots, sitting there walking through all of the trees, and it's like, what shape are those roots growing in? They're chirating, right? Roots are chiral. What is a root to a door? Odor is door. Direct iteration, natural definition, complete. Sensorability is the ability to sense a door. Natural definition, direct iteration. Right? Just changing the literal order of our syllables, of our letters. Sensorability, sensdorability. But it's a direct iteration and it's complete. So we already have this bounding present in linguistics, and we're just showing, again, sensorality, literally stabilizing, producing a unique chunk, a unique theorem that has a well-defined physical definition, resistance potential, weight potential, the stuff we just went through. But door and odors are big containment for sensorality, contains sensorality, our definable chunk of syllability, and then door is a direct, complete iteration of odor. And we have this consensus phrasing once again. You go in front of the TV and then somebody says, ho ho ho, you make a better door than a window, right? What is a wall to a door? What is a door to a fence? Sensorality is door odor. Oh, yeah, it smells like mahogany or black cherry. Nice door. It's got a good odor. It doesn't matter, just emphasizing the syllability. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is a revolving door. So now that's a direct physical thing as well as a conceptual, you're running in circles. Tautology is a revolving door. But we have uniqueness. All of this process, for you stupid people out there, there is uniqueness. We're getting to this definiteness. That's what we're building up to. But we're not building up to like it's a big reveal. It's just a step that we have to progress through, and all of this is chronological. All of it. But cyclicality revolves, revolution is repetition. Sensorality is competition, repetition. What is a step to a jump? What is a step to a stride? What is a step to a leap? Can an asymptote be infinite? So typically this is a good step or portion to point out where it's like, this is a well-defined question that you can answer immediately. What I'm thinking here is, right, an asymptote, it approaches some value, and that value doesn't change. But what if that value is a function, right? And so can you have a function approaching another function, but it never reaches the value of that first function? Because infinite, again, our conceptualization is this awareness that sets just increase. Well, sets are sets, but groups increase or categories increase. The amount of information is always increasing. There's a minimum and there's a maximum. That's the physical awareness, and the mathematical representation is a growing set, but the word set is set, it doesn't change, so a growing category. But point being is, I typically, again, this is just something that's immediately answerable, but all of the questions that we typically pose are not like directly answerable. It's just to highlight this intuition. But this to me seems like a directly, immediately, already answered question in mathematics. Can an asymptote be infinite? Can the value at which some function approaches be another function or be something that's growing as well, where the asymptotic nature still presents? But point being is I'm highlighting, that's what I was thinking about. And just like most of the times it's just theorems and proofs, and then sometimes it's just like considerations where it's like, I feel like this is an answer out there, but it's just this overall conceptual progress, which is what matters for our proofing. But can an asymptote be infinite? Are asymptotes easy? Are symptoms diseasy? And emphasizing asymptote and symptom have extreme similarity, letters and syllables. And then a logical progression of the form. Are asymptotes easy? Are symptoms diseasy? Again, restating the fundamental theorem of physics, weight is heavy. Now again, what is the form of heavy? Is heavy easy? Direct iteration, heavy, again, that easy, heavy, direct iteration. To heave is to shove. Heave, have. Sensorality, pops, shove it. Sensorality is a pop, shove it. So again, I can't do a tray flip or a pop shove it. I can't even ollie. But phrasing from skateboarding, but like look how holy cow. Look how direct and literal this statement is, right? A pop, shove it. Pop, ollie. Shove is kind of like you slide your foot and then the board like rotates kind of like backwards. But it's not like a tray flip. Tray flips are cool. I can't do a pop, shove it or a tray flip. But again, emphasizing pop, shove, it is what it is. Direct, literal phrasing of words associated to a physical process. Because again, all of what we call science is differentiation of direct, literal assignment of basically onomatopoeia. Pop, shove, it, great example. We're popping, we're shoving, and it's it. What is a shove? Shoving is moving. Direct iteration, natural definition. Shoving is abrupt. Interruption is abrupt. Abrupt is discrete. So again, we're just progressing our linguistics until we have a direct word form linguistic construction which we can derive, right? Expectationality contains exceptionality. It's direct, it's immediate, it's literal. We're going to get to a point where, again, sensodorality contains sensorality, but all of our pieces are right there. Just, again, how much remaining logic is I'm not sure. Regardless, my rights continue to be profoundly and extensively violated. I continue to beg for a little bit of money to eat properly, to sleep properly, and to work. My rights have been violated so profoundly, directly, egregiously, and heinously for so long that I have been seeking and continue to seek asylum. I'm destitute. I have faced grave bodily harm. I currently sit in an environment that doesn't understand my life experience. I've been extorted by the state of Colorado. I sold a house, I've sold Bitcoin, I have incurred more personal financial damages, and I'm the victim of such prolific crime that I don't even know how I would attempt to file a tax return with all of the damages done to me, and with all the crime continuing to be done to me, and I just sit in this headspace of how the fuck do I get out of here? Again, when the entire community, when literally the legal structure that is supposed to support you goes against you and you're insulated by people that couldn't care. People that watch sports all day, they're sitting there cheering on Scotty Scheffler. They don't care that the law is violated. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about what is right. They don't care about what is decent. They have no values. And then they just get offended by the instant they hear something that doesn't make sense to them. I've lost my entire life to this. I continue to lose my entire life to this. I did have a couple other things from just a couple, again, throwing in any bits and pieces from the disclosure day. Had a couple more. But again, a specific reference, somebody saying, I like my neck, which was interesting to me because, like I said, I've already had one of these since I was a kid. And so when you guys are poking around me, and it's like, meaning this again, this security apparatus, you know who I'm talking about if you're watching. But you guys said, I like my neck, again, where it's like, is this a person? Is this not a person? But regardless, it's kind of like you indicating to me that's like, hey, it's okay. It's like, I already know this shit. And so it's like, is this group different than this group? Right? Or am I just documenting lymph nodes in early stage of lymphoma? But again, you specifically said, I like my neck, as it's like, I don't know what's going on. And I'm just like scratching my head. It's like, is this like a different group then? Because again, my interactions with kids, it's not like, as a kid, it's not like there's like one group. And so I don't know what's being done to me. I don't consent to any of this. Again, not telling me what's going on. It is profound and extensive T word. But I did want to point out something else. Again, snap to when, again, the police officers are there. My neighbors had threatened grave bodily harm against me. I have no way to report crime. And then we're standing there in the on-body camera. And so when you're, again, in relation to, again, this synchronizing, you can literally feel it, right? When I am standing on my porch and there's those three officers there, again, refusing to enforce the law because, again, you live in a world where you can't live a life. And so kind of like I think it's like Egyptian. He struck me as Middle Eastern. He kind of even says something goofy as shit like, somebody calls me the N-word, I can't get offended. And it's like, dude, you're Middle Eastern. What the fuck are you even talking about? But in this on-body cam, you can literally see he's like kind of at my, 2 o'clock. But he's standing behind or in front of a bin, a waste disposal, a Rumpke trash can. And so at this time I can feel him, and again, he's hearing the bin, and you can vocally hear me say, it's just the bin, twice. And so I can feel him, because again, when people come at you like moths to a flame, like you're doing something wrong, and then they immediately interact with you and realizing you're not doing anything, they sense that. And then again, this entire time, again, the Russian guy walking past me, the English guy coming up to me at HQ Flats, and I'm immediately like, you're from Interpol. And he's like, fuck, right? And he's not said anything to me. These are pure, again, information generations of no interaction, just existing around. If you interact with me, if you think about me, if you interact with me personally in any way, there was no behavior or no articulation of language that you could present to do anything. What I'm doing here is presenting the biggest larger logical structure that could exist and then reducing it trivially. There's nothing else to do. But point being is the experiences that I've articulated, and again, there'll be a bunch more that you'll see from the apartments. If at this point I'm basically just addressing you guys, but point being is those are just interactions, again, of when I'm directly saying what they're thinking with no personal interaction whatsoever. And so if you shake my hand, if you talk to me, if you think about me, if you interact with me in any direct personal way, it's just overwhelming. And so then back to the police officers who don't know what's going on. Again, this synchronizing happens with literally everybody. In the movies, or with like, autistic people, it's kind of like more like people that know them well or whatever. It's like, I can feel like fucking everything, man. And so the police officer, again, I can feel him feeling like what's like, and kind of like, he's kind of like calmed down now. Right? And this is the situation where I was like, calm down, and they all kind of roar in unison, like, calm down. Because what happens is they approach me like I'm doing something wrong. They immediately empirically sense that I'm not doing something wrong. They are the most disgraceful, incompetent people that have ever existed, and they're law enforcement agents, so they're doubling down. It's like, I've already made my decision. Brad's the crazy person. That guy over there didn't threaten Brad, even though he did, and this is all recorded. But these low-level dick-sucking cops don't know this. And they're just looking for a reason to exert authority over me. And then you can see the guy to my 9, the fat white guy, like the sergeant or the other guy, he comes up to the house in a unmarked police car. And then this is the guy that said, can't you see what you're making my deputies do? Again, threatening of grave bodily harm is like the highest level of like public safety concern. So yeah, again, I can't emphasize James Gilbert and his entire police force, anybody involved in academia, anybody involved in that entire police office, precinct, whatever. Again, you facilitated the violation of my constitutional rights in an organized fashion that does qualify for RICO. As soon as the law makes sense, you will be prosecuted, you will be charged. But you can feel this guy on the left, and then he literally goes, I'm going to ask you something serious. Has anybody that can express concern about your drinking? And again, you can viscerally perceive if there's any reason he can say 72-hour hold without anything, that is what he's doing right there in that instance. And so again, they get offended. They literally viscerally perceive that I'm just like, dude, what do you do when your neighbor threatens to grave bodily harm and you try to report it and then they don't believe you? Like there's nothing. It's just, okay, it's just leave piles of shit. And so again, in a previous interaction, again, all of this stuff's recorded. But one of the officers this time was kind of like the fat white guy, and another tall white guy, 2 white guys, middle-aged, probably both about 40. One probably about closer to my age, late 20s, early 30s at the time. And then the older guy, probably about 40, 45. Not older, but you get what I'm saying. And he literally says to me on body camera, again, well, maybe you're going to, because the shorter stout guy, again, there's 3 people in the first group, and then there's this other two group. And he literally says, well, you're going to have to find somewhere else to live. A police officer on body cam saying, hey, we're not going to enforce the law. You're going to have to take tens of thousands of dollars of damages to feel safe. Thank you, Governor DeWine. Thank you again, James Gilbert. But it really emphasizing, again, this synchronicity happens all of the time for me. And again, it's general. So if you're in a group of people, it's not me and you, it's the general group. And it's happened my whole entire life. And so again, emphasizing that again, in that you can see on the body cam that it's specific, when I am saying to the guy that looks like, to me, like Egyptian, some sort of Middle Eastern descent, and he's literally, again, he starts turning around and you can hear me saying, it's just the bin. I can viscerally perceive his thought process of what he's thinking. And he's thinking, again, he's interacting with me, he's not sure what's going on, and then like every sound is like threatening to the guy. Again, then I'm over there thinking, okay, is this going to be Acorn Cop? Because he's literally talking to me. Again, I am standing here, he's in front of me, and the bin is behind him at your standard residential house type of setup. And he is hearing the bin, and it's like the wind is blowing, and it's just like blowing the top of the trash can back and forth, and it's hitting the side, so it's making a sound. And the guy keeps he's like, what is going on? Again, because he's this shared presence is not just me doing something. And you can viscerally perceive that is what is occurring in that instance. And then this fat white guy just has to double down and just literally looking to put me on a 72-hour psychiatric hold for trying to report crime that's legitimate. And so we have such a profound failure of law enforcement, obviously. Again, I've been making videos for 10 years with direct statement of property, with direct citation of law. But what is reality is no one cares about fucking anything. So I did wanted to point that out because, again, there's a ton of these, my whole experience at HQ Flats Grafton Park. I mean, I'm not sure who's where because this stuff's been going on my whole life. And I'm not just, you guys don't get that. And it's just like, you've wasted everything. But I like my neck, again, I've already known that. I mean, I have one right here. And so it's just like, I'm not really sure who's talking about what. And then again, I did want to emphasize, again, these are all stuff I've hit on and highlighted, but the redhead guy at HQ Flats, that when I make this post about Gary Lewis Jr., again, a police chief, and then they censor my LinkedIn post. I get on LinkedIn, again, this is supposed to be a professional website, and that's what I don't get as a grown man. It's like, people are committing crimes against me. How do I get anyone to care? And then have you censor my LinkedIn post? I am suffering grave bodily harm. I am deprived of my rights. And this is the law enforcement apparatus doing this. You guys demonstrate a level of behavior that is fucking disgusting. I mean, it's like beyond disgusting. It's just like, again, to my estate, press every charge, make them pay me every fucking penny. The United States of America goes defunct. All right, the only reason I am producing content is to attempt to try to make some money so I can literally afford food. I have never been able to afford food in my entire life. I've never had a safe, stable place to live. I've never made a friend. I've never had any family. I have never had any quality of life, and people don't get that. And when you have Redhead Fred come out in person saying, oh, well, your LinkedIn post was what? Again, calling out a police chief for not upholding the law. And again, you guys are just so fucking pathetic and such profound criminals, you can't care. But again, grave bodily harm. I'm sitting here watching my parents age, not taking proper health advice of things that are proven. You are violating my rights, causing grave bodily harm and death. That is what it is. I can't do anything about it. So I record everything I can. I mean, that's why I do this stuff. Because people are so pathetic and they're so insulated by group behavior, they will never change. I have no expectation my life will ever change. I keep putting stuff out there in the hopes that somebody will give me a little bit of money to eat properly and sleep properly and to work. You took anybody else out there from this species and put them in my shoes, they would not understand the level of stress and duress that I'm under every second of every minute of every day. When you have a community of people that is directly the government, directly committing crimes, and they directly commit behaviors in person to you that says, we don't even process as why this would be a problem. And then they get paid, they go have families, they go have careers, they go buy food, and it's just acting like, oh, we're going to call Brad smart, and any sort of agitation he shows now is mental illness, is the most profound, historical, disgusting bullshit ever. To my estate, again, I have been profoundly and extensively T-word. At current times, I expect to be T-word until I'm D-word. If I'm alive to see this world change, the first and only thing I will do will press charges and file lawsuits personally. That is what I want to do. This science shit is as trivial as breathing to me. But seeing people that said, doubt it, bro. I'm going to violate all of your laws. You're a fucking nobody. And it's just like, you shouldn't treat like anybody like that. And then on top of that, it's just like, this is the most historical progress human beings have ever undergone, and it's completely done. And you just, there's, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, and then there's just immediate crime to the profound wrong side of history immediately, and it's done. And there's nothing you can do after that. And there's just no laws. Again, these wouldn't be videos. These would just be legal complaints. They would just be charges filed. They would just be lawsuits filed. If and when I finish Exceptionality, I will literally just go immediately start filing RICO charges against everybody. Local people, I'm destitute. I've been seeking asylum. I've been stating that directly and immediately. Because again, I live in this environment where the IRS is going to extort me, again, all while people watch every fucking thing I've ever done and they just can watch me squirm and nobody cares. Because they're going to call Brad smart when he's dead and something, I don't know. But the reality is people just have no morals, they have no values, they have no capacity to care. I was profoundly and extensively T-word at St. Francis de Sales. All of those people are still employed, they still walk around, they still feel like they're great people. Everybody at Ohio State, all of that board, Again, me literally handing people plates of food to federal judges at your country clubs. Are you sure you don't want to give Brad money? Are you sure? Are you sure? Okay. One time this power dynamic is going to change, which is fucking hilarious considering it's the form of all of logic. You're going up against a single individual who's contributed more to history than everybody else combined. Guess where that leaves you? But again, I continue to beg. Again, I do not have any sort of quote-unquote power, but ability to take care of my own self. I do not have energy velocity. I do not have rapid movement potential. Nothing can change. I have no power. I have no ability to live my life, and I continue to prioritize the documentation of this crime. So, I continue to emphasize I am begging for a little bit of money to eat properly, to sleep properly, and to work. I have no expectation anything could ever or will ever change. That is what I have for right now. See you on the next one.